Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, the Flanagan Falcons are a surprise, and they are soaring toward the playoffs. On the recruiting trail, it's never too early to analyze the class of 2014. All of that and more coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. All right, Don Bailey Jr., right off the top of the bat, our show, the South Florida High School Football Show, has been nominated for an Emmy. So it's either A, our good looks, or B, the judges are blind.
Probably the judges are blind, Joe, but at least they got good taste in the show, right? That's the good, important thing.
Well, we have a good time at any rate.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, there's some great teams in Dade County having terrific seasons so far. Booker T. Washington, Columbus, Killian, South Dade's undefeated. So a real race in Dade County alongside Norland High School. The Vikings, and the Vikings last year, the defending champs, and they've got a chance this year as well. They're headed for the playoffs.
Joe, what a great job coaching by Coach Heidelberg. You look at the fact that they go last year to the state championship game, they're the champions, and they have talent galore. They've got two kids that have started in Division I football this season as true freshmen at the University of Miami, Duke Johnson and Eric Flowers. But now you look, they lost all that talent, and he recreated Norland High. They're playing defense, they're playing sound in the running game, and they're successful. They're winning football games, and it might be one of the best coaching jobs of the season.
Now they're grinding it out. Last year you mentioned Duke Johnson, all those big yards. This year running for about 150 yards a game,
Correct.
Maybe 200 yards a game, so taking more time off the clock.
They are, and you know what's nice is you see that the coach did a good job of evaluating his talent, realizing what can he do to win football games. Playing great defense, he's very stingy, he's tough to get yards on, and you mentioned the 150 yards rushing. The fact is the time of possession keeps it away from an explosive offense, but more importantly, it wears teams down in the third and fourth quarter. So if you have to play younger guys, your opponent's a little more tired, you'll have an advantage.
They had a big win a couple weeks ago against Jackson. Jackson's probably a playoff team, but again, Norland's defense holding their opponents to less than 2 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, and you understand if you're rushing for an average of 150, you're going to cover that 14 points that your defense is able to hold the opponent to. And also the fact, as you mentioned, with the Jackson victory, all these wins are building confidence in this new team and allowing them to develop their own personality when they had a personality of explosive plays last year with Duke Johnson.
All right, let's move into Broward County. A couple of teams that are playing really well in Broward County. Plantation's having a solid season coming off a big game against St. Thomas. Northeast is having a big season. They're doing a great job. And sneaking up on everybody, the Falcons of Flanagan, and they have put themselves in position for the playoffs. Their head coach, Don Simon, has put together a heck of a team this year.
I love to see this because you have the traditional powers that are continuing to be successful in Broward County, and you always like that wild card to come into play. And as you mentioned, they're doing a good job on the field in all three phases. The main thing that I find impressive about them is their consistency. Week in and week out, he's putting a great product on the field, and he's having success with it.
They had a big game against their rival last weekend, Western, and really made a statement, beat them 45-7. So they get the balance going, plus terrific defense.
Anytime you're able to beat a rival that significantly, then your confidence level is going to go through the roof. And at this stage of the season, when you're pushing towards the end and everybody's trying to find a way into the playoffs, that confidence may be the thing that pushes you over the top.
You know what Don Simon also has been able to do, Don, is he's had the team in waiting. His JV squad was undefeated a year ago. So it's been an easy transition, that JV squad to the varsity, and those kids have responded.
Joe, don't underestimate the value of a junior varsity squad, and obviously Coach Simon hasn't done that. That is a feeder program for years to come. If you get the 10th graders involved in this, and you're running the same offense, you have the same terminology, you get them in a position to play as juniors. So if you lose a big senior class or you have injuries It enables you to bring a kid up from the junior varsity squad, especially towards the end of the year, and you don't lose time when you have to teach them the playbook.
Well, Flanagan got the bye week at the right time. Next week, a big game coming up. They'll take on Miramar. If they beat them at home, they're going to knock Miramar out of the postseason, and Flanagan would advance to the postseason.
Thanks, Joe and Don. No games were played Friday. Here's a list of games that will be played tomorrow.
Check out SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, where you will find recruiting overview powered by Larry Bluestein, review the weekly top 20, preview the top games in Dade and Broward County, catch up on Shaquille Jackson's blog and game recaps, nominate candidates for Player of the Year and for High School Teacher of the Year. Catch any of this season's TV shows you may have missed, plus a whole bunch more.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
A few years ago, I decided to push myself further. College, graduate school, degrees in aeronautics and engineering. And I learned that being my best means getting the best from everyone around me. Becoming an Army officer taught me to set high objectives and quickly rise to meet them. Kinda like a rocket.
An Army officer learns to reach new heights and inspires others to do the same. Can you? Find out at goarmy.com/officer.
They watch me all the time. And I think my mom found my stash of Sir Pizza boxes.
My parents are totally convinced that my ranch dressing habit is becoming a serious problem.
I told them I only eat squares and with only crumbled bits of pepperoni. They say that's how it all starts.
They just don't understand how good it is. A special blend of cheese, the sauce, the crunchiness, the dough.
But I can totally stop whenever I want.
It's not a problem. I'm in complete control.
.9 is a breakthrough. 6.9 is a physics lesson. 6.9 is the outer limits. 6.9 is an explosion. Uh-oh, he just got faster. 6.9 is ounces, and that makes this the lightest ever.
The recruiting segment is brought to you by Metro PCS, wireless for all.
Welcome back to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with the Emmy-nominated Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from Dave & Buster's, where you come to eat, drink, and play for serious football action. We have some serious football action to talk about. We're going to jump ahead a year in recruiting. It's time for our recruiting segment. And we're going to talk about the kids in the 2014 class. And we are told by our scouting department, this 2014 class might be one of the best ever.
Well, one term they use, Joe, is loaded, and that's what we understand it is. And of course, Old Blue always gives us the right information.
We're talking about wide receivers, quarterbacks, linebackers, the whole gamut, especially in Dade County.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're talking about the wide receiver and running back. South Florida is known specifically for the skill position. So when you say that 214 is off the charts in that area, that leads you to believe that these kids are going to go on and have great careers in Division I, and there might be a few NFL prospects 4 or 5 years from now.
And our area is getting better at quarterback. We have producing quarterbacks.
And that's key, and it goes back to what you're a big fan of. You're a big fan of those 7-on-7s, and I am as well, because it's grooming these quarterbacks to understand coverage and also understand the timing that's needed to be a successful passer, whether it's in high school or in college. But you think that 7-on-7, it positively has elevated the play of those positions, the receiver, the specialty, and the quarterback positions in South Florida.
Okay, well, it's time for our Metro PCS recruiting segment. Since we're talking about the class of 2014, what I could use is one of two things. Either A, a crystal ball to look into, or B, my Huawei Activa Metro PCS telephone. And I think I'll get all the answers right here on the phone with Larry Bluestein.
Well, guys, you're right. As soon as we get done talking about all the 2013 kids that are playing and making a great impact everywhere, then comes the 2014 players. South Florida, guys, I cannot tell you enough about the South Florida talent. We'll lead it off in Miami-Dade County, one of the best running backs in the country. He's so good, he's already committed. FSU-bound Joseph Yerby from Miami Central, a tremendous athlete. Watch him run, watch him pass, watch him do anything he can do. He can beat you anyway. As a freshman against Camden County, his first game as a 9th grader, returned a kickoff 95 yards against the #1 team in the country. Also, 2014, there may not be a better wide receiver nationally than Erman Lane from Homestead. This is a kid that already got it done at the youth football level, came up to the next level. Last year was one of the best sophomores in the country. Erman Lane, there's a name to remember because he can not only do it as a receiver, also in the secondary. And when he gets out on the kickoff and punt returns, he's simply unbelievable. 2014 cannot be completed in Dade County, everyone, without one of the best run-pass quarterbacks in the country. Quentin Flowers from Miami-Jackson. Wait till you see this kid. This kid is impressive. He can run, he can pass. He's a potential 3,500-yard kid at any level. Big-time Miami-Jackson kid. Broward County is not alone. The #1 running back in the country, and he has been since the 8th grade. Sony Michelle from American Heritage right here in Plantation. Is there any better? A year off with surgery as an 8th and 9th grader, he had 2,400 yards. This kid is phenomenal. Watch him. Watch his rise to the next level. He's a big time. He still has another year and a half left. And we'll round it out with 2 tremendous football players. First of all, Khari Clark. Joe, this is from your alma mater, Chaminade Madonna. Khari Clark he's dominating. Remember when Warren Sapp was at the University of Miami? He's that type of player. He can disrupt at any time. He is a big-time talent. Khari Clark from Chaminade Madonna, just a junior. Wait till you see him, 6'2", 295 pounds, and one of the best safeties in the country, Quincy Wilson from University School. This kid is lights out. I'm telling you, his father played at the University of Miami, Chad Wilson. But wait till you see Quincy. He can play corner, he can play safety, he can knock you out. You know what, guys, I can't even tell you. 2013's not even finished yet. We're boasting on those 2014 kids.
Thanks, Larry. Tico People's Gas. Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone, call 811. Tico People's Gas is awarding the Player of the Year award to 1 player in Miami-Dade and 1 player in Broward. To nominate a player, visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Tico Vote Here icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. The players take home a beautiful crystal trophy, and the schools that vote the most receive a $500 donation. The winners will be announced during our National Signing Day TV show on February the 6th.
The Sports Medicine Timeout is brought to you by U18 Sports Medicine, your sports medicine provider for the young athlete.
The South Florida High School Football Show continues now with our U18 Sports Medicine Timeout coming to you from the Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. We are inside Daniela's atrium with Dr. Stephen Storer, and this week's topic, Doc, can be somewhat confusing. We're talking about sprains and strains. What's the difference?
It's actually very simple. A sprain is an injury to a ligament, and a strain is an injury to the muscle.
Why is it so difficult, perhaps, for us to understand the difference?
Well, on your leg, for instance, you can pull something on the side, and it might be the ligament that connects the ankle bone to the foot, or it might be a muscle that wraps around the ankle. They're very close in proximity to each other.
Okay, for a sprain, what kind of rehab are you looking at for a sprain?
All of our athletes should be familiar. You have to remember RICE: rest, ice, compression, and elevation.
You mentioned one of the more common strains would be a hamstring strain, and they can be problematic. They can be lingering injuries.
Hamstring strains are very common. At times they occur because an athlete has a mild injury that they ignore and it becomes more severe. You should remember RICE, and that'll keep you in good condition.
Is there a big difference in the rehab between the two?
They're very similar.
Okay. All right, Doctor, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
The Teacher of the Year Award is brought to you by the South Florida Chevy Dealers. Chevy runs deep. The South Florida Chevy Dealers will be recognizing outstanding educators and handing out $4,000 in donation. Help us by nominating a high school teacher for the 2012 South Florida Chevy Dealers High School Teacher of the Year Award. Chevy will award a crystal trophy to 1 teacher in each county, plus each teacher's school wins a $2,000 general donation. Visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com to learn how to nominate a teacher for consideration. We are accepting nominations until January 16th. Winners will be announced February 6th. More of the South Florida High School Football Show after this.
The Chevy Cruze Echo also offers 42 mpg on the highway.
Actually, it's Cruze Eco, not Echo. Just like either.
Or either.
Or economical.
Or economical. Potato, potato, huh?
Actually, it's tomato, tomato.
Oh, that's right.
See your South Florida Chevy dealer. That's 42 miles per gallon highway on the fuel-efficient Chevy Cruze Eco. Come on in today and check it out for yourself.
Eco Peoples Gas presents Make the Call.
Hey, what's Bert digging up?
I don't know, planting a tree?
Did he call 811, before he started?
It doesn't sound like it.
Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone. Dial 811 and get your utility lines marked for free. Avoid the fines. Don't hit the lines. If you hit a utility line, you can interrupt your service and your neighbors too. Know exactly what you're digging yourself into. Call 811. Brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas.
Rhapsody puts millions of songs on your Metro phone, so you can create your life soundtrack. That's why everybody's moving to Metro.
The Coach of the Week is brought to you by Adidas. All in.
Back on the South Florida High School Football Show, Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We're at Dave & Buster's in Hollywood, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. Well, Don Bailey Jr., time to jump into our Coach of the Week segment. We had to pull you away from the basketball machine here to talk about our Coach of the Week. This guy's done a terrific job at University School. They're a small school. They're ranked #1 in Broward County. Roger Harriet.
Well, you have to love that, Joe, especially with the limited numbers, the limited access that you're going to have to the big-time football players. But what he's done, he's instilled discipline. He's put a product on the field that shows that he can compete with anybody in either county. And what a great compliment that is. And, of course, the main thing is he focuses on the classroom.
Our Coach of the Week brought to you by Adidas. Adidas All In. Here's Brian Saul with Coach Harriet.
Well, thanks, Joe and Don. This week's Adidas Coach of the Week, a familiar face from University School, Roger Harriet. Coach, you got another great year under your belt. Talk about your overall players this year.
Well, we have some exceptional guys. We have some wonderful leaders on our team who have developed over the past few years, and we're excited about their leadership. They have an extraordinary camaraderie and a lot of love on all three aspects of the game, and they do the right thing off the field. So they want to make sure that they're meeting expectations and they're not letting each other down. I think that's the most important thing, and the guys are happy right now. They're trying to have fun. They're focused on taking care of business, and we're just backing them up and trying to provide as much support as possible.
Coach, you do a good job behind the scenes of getting them, like you said, to do the right things. How do you preach to them what happens behind the scenes, to lead by example? And winning isn't necessarily an important thing. It's about building character.
Well, yeah, I mean, winning is important, but for me, it's about the moral victory. We use football as a tool to help them realize what it really means to live a healthy lifestyle, be a positive role model, and a productive citizen. So we preach that a whole lot, and they realize early that football is just added value. It's actually a privilege in regards to the bigger picture, and we focus on ensuring that they understand what the objectives are, how they should conduct themselves off the field, how they want other people to perceive them, and things of that nature. As a result, we're hoping they get a little bit of value, and we instill something important in them, and they go out and live exceptional lives, man. They're great husbands and fathers and great role models in our society, and hopefully by whatever we instill in them, they shoot back onto the next person. So we're all about paying it forward, and I think that's what makes our program so special.
No, absolutely. And Coach, one player who looks like he's paying it forward is Jordan Cunningham. You look like he's got a lot of talent. Talk to him about his skill set and how he is as a leader on this team.
Well, obviously he has all the prototypical type of attributes. He's an exceptional person. He's got a ton of talent. He's extremely fast. He can stretch the field. But more important than anything else, the most impressive thing about Jordan Cunningham is that he's a real scholar athlete, and he takes a whole lot of pride in making sure that he's the epitome of what it means to be a role model. And he's been a great leader for our guys and an exceptional support base.
Coach, you mentioned him being there from the 7th grade. How much does that continuity from a coaching standpoint help you in you knowing how to relay information to a player?
Really, from a philosophical standpoint, it's extremely important because now you know their personality. They're ingrained and indoctrinated into what it means to be a University School son and what's expected of them off the field and so forth as a person. And they look out for one another. and it's about interdependence. So whatever weakness they have, they understand that that can be compensated by their teammates' strength. We put our egos aside, and when we try to support one another and encourage each other through an inspirational standpoint to motivate and empower each other to do some exceptional things off of the field. It transitions on the field, and then the kids are having a good time doing it.
Coach, you threw a lot at them this year. You threw them a tough schedule, and how's that benefited the team in facing some adversity earlier on in the year?
That's the strategy. We felt like our guys could handle it. We have a lot of guys on the team that are obviously exceptional talents. They're Division I prospects, so we felt that they could play with the best of them, and they've been proving that. So we're going to continue to move forward. We're taking one game at a time. Every game is a state championship type effort, so hopefully we'll make it to the show and put on a show again.
Absolutely, Coach. You know we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. Guys, back to you guys.
Thanks, Brian. Time now for the Sir Pizza Play of the Week, sponsored by Sir Pizza. Good to the very edge. Flanagan hosting Western. Flanagan's running back, Hans Supre, gets the ball and breaks through with a wide hole provided by the offensive line. Then he breaks not one, but two tackles, then spins and gets into the end zone, and the Play of the Week.
Hi, I'm Laura Duramiges with this week's Army Bowl nominees, brought to you by the U.S. Army, Army Strong. This week we stay in Broward with two All-Stars, starting off with Jordan Cunningham, the talented wide receiver prospect from University School in Fort Lauderdale. Cunningham comes in at 6'3", 175 pounds. He finished his junior season with 32 catches for 575 yards and 8 touchdowns. With his great size, speed, and intensity, look for him to have another outstanding season. Cunningham is fielding offers from Miami, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Stanford, just to name a few. Next up is the wide receiver from Northeast in Oakland Park, Stacy Coley. Coley stacks in at just over 6 feet, 175 pounds. He shows very good game speed and has great combination of height and length. He finished his junior year with 33 catches for 556 yards and 7 touchdowns. Coley hopes to finish this season with just as much success. He has offers on the table from Alabama, Clemson, UF, and FSU.
The South Florida High School Football Show is also on Facebook and Twitter. Like us at SFHSFS and follow us at HSF Ball as soon as you can. You'll receive weekly updates from our insiders, news, announcements, and game day scoring updates from all over South Florida, plus deals and offers from our partners, including Sir Pizza, Sports Authority, Metro PCS, and many more. And we'll continue right after this.
At U18 Sports Medicine, our focus is on treating young athletes. Experienced pediatric orthopedic surgeons from Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital Department of Orthopedic Surgery work with the U18 staff to help meet a variety of needs: X-rays, MRIs, physical therapy, and much more. Our leading-edge facilities located at Memorial Hospital Miramar and Coral Springs are open year-round. U18 can help young athletes stay off the sidelines and on the field. A program of Memorial Healthcare System and Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Visit U18sportsmedicine.com.
It's Chevy Truck Month. Time to get in and grab a Silverado at your Chevy dealer, where you'll get a great deal on the most dependable, longest-lasting, full-size pickups on the road. So gear up and get going. Get your hands on a legendary Silverado while the time is right. See your South Florida Chevy dealer. Now during Chevy Truck Month, get 0% APR financing for 60 months or trade up to get the 2012 Chevy Silverado Florida All-Star with a total value of $8,000. Hurry in before they're all gone.
The car on the left was filled up with low detergent gasoline, while the car on the right was filled up with BP gasoline with Invigorate, which helps clean and protect its engine, so it can get a few more miles per tank than the car on the left. Go a little farther with BP gasoline with Invigorate.
You need flooring? We'll call Don Bailey Flooring today for the lowest prices on the planet Earth. Brand names like Mohawk Carpet at 70% off and laminate starting at just 49 cents a square foot. Call Don Bailey Flooring today.
The keys to the game are brought to you by BP Gasoline with Invigorate, the preferred fuel of the South Florida High School Football Show.
We're back on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with former University of Miami center Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from Dave & Buster's here in Hollywood, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. Time for our previews and our broadcast game, a good one coming up next weekend. It's going to be St. Thomas and Cooper City, a rematch of last year's upset. Of course, it's our simulcast as well. You can hear the game on WQAM as well as SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. You can watch it on SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. So for a preview, here is Mike Levine.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Our game of the week is another revenge game. Seems like we have a lot of those. Cooper City hosting St. Thomas. Now, Cooper City won at St. Thomas last year, so you know STA is looking for the revenge game. This Cooper City team has a win over Nova earlier in the season, and they're trying to still replace Camden Crone. They're all Mr. Everything last year on offense, but their defense can be stifling. St. Thomas has dropped a couple of games this season, so it's not the best Raiders team, but still a great matchup. Joe, Don, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. So this game requires a little more in-depth analysis. A year ago, Cooper City went to St. Thomas and beat them. Then St. Thomas beat them in the rematch. Cooper City's coached by Art Taylor, one of the best in the business. He's a little bit undersized on the lines, both offense and defense, which could be problematic. Of course, St. Thomas is coming off a really tough game against Plantation.
Well, St. Thomas is going to rely on their defensive line, Joe. Also, their quarterback is a great dual threat product. He can do as much with his arm as he can with his legs. But when you look at what happened last year, that was the first time Cooper City beat St. Thomas since 1972. So at least now they know that they can do it. And I think that that's a huge advantage for them. For many, many years, they never realized they could beat St. Thomas. Now that you have that win under your belt, it's something that they'll build upon. But you look at St. Thomas, you've got the quarterback picture squared away, and then you have one of the best defensive lines and some of the best talent on the defensive line in the country.
All right, another big game in Broward County. Cardinal Gibbons is going to take on Hollandale. Gibbons coming off a tough game this past weekend against American Heritage. They need this game in a big way. They've had a charmed season in many ways and won a couple of games late. They've got a great passing attack between their quarterbacks and the wide receivers.
Well, you've got Hollandale that's young, they're exciting, they've been proficient at times, but they've also struggled, and that's what happens on a young football team. But this game is going to take the entire contest to decide the winner in this. It's going to be very important for both of these schools to come at this in two different ways. And what I mean by that is you have Hollandale that they've got to get their young kids used to this type of game and see what kind of talent that they can produce down the road.
Gibbons is averaging 35 points a game, so they've got an explosive offense.
35 points should get it done. If you manage to do that through an entire season, that tells you that you are capable at any time of putting up points. And as we talked about, Hollandale has got some inexperience. When you're scoring 35 points, you've got good wideouts, a quarterback that understands the offense, because 35 points is an excellent number.
All right, so some big games this weekend coming up in high school football. There's a big game down in South Miami, in Miami-Dade County. This is always a big game. Killian and Palmetto. That's a rivalry game. Who do you have?
I'm going with Killian, Joe. They're running that football, and that's what I like. A team that runs the ball has got a good chance to win.
All right, well, the basketball machine is going off, so it's calling your name. That's it for this weekend show. Join us next week right here on the South Florida High School Football Show. So long, everyone.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
How you feeling? Good. How you feeling? Good. Son, Patrick Jackson. Son, Patrick Jackson. Nobody plays 48 like us. Like us. I mean, you. Want that pride time? Yo. Ready up.